Have you ever noticed that some people seem naturally respected wherever they go, while others constantly seek approval, explain themselves, or become emotionally exhausted trying to prove their value? The difference is often not intelligence, talent, appearance, or even opportunity. It is something much deeper, where they choose to invest their mental and emotional energy. What confident people never waste energy on may be the exact thing silently draining yours every day. And the most surprising part is that many of these behaviors feel normal. They are so common that most people never question them. Yet, over time, they slowly erode self-respect, emotional stability, and personal growth. If you can't control your emotions, people will control you. Most people misunderstand emotional control. It's not about staying calm. It's about how your mind silently shapes your behavior, your relationships, and the way people respond to you without you realizing it. If you stay until the end, you'll understand the psychological patterns behind your reactions, why you repeat certain behaviors, and how your mind actually builds emotional habits in daily life. Because the real issue is not what you feel, it's what your mind does with what you feel. And most people never notice this process happening. Welcome to a space dedicated to understanding the human mind and modern emotions, helping people better understand anxiety, relationships, and their inner thoughts. In today's video, we will explore the hidden psychological habits that confident people consciously avoid. You will discover why constantly seeking validation weakens your sense of self, why overthinking other people's opinions creates emotional dependence, and why many individuals unknowingly waste years of their lives fighting battles that never needed to be fought. More importantly, you will learn practical psychological insights that can help you redirect your energy toward what truly strengthens confidence, emotional resilience, and personal growth. As we move through each point, you may recognize patterns in your own behavior that have been operating beneath your awareness for years. Some of these realizations can be uncomfortable, but they can also be transformative. By the end of this video, you may see confidence in a completely different way, not as something people are born with, but as the result of what they choose to stop giving their energy to. Let's begin. Have you ever reached the end of the day feeling completely exhausted, even though nothing particularly bad happened? No major argument, no crisis, no dramatic event. Yet somehow your mind feels heavy, your patience feels thinner, and even simple tasks seem harder than they should. If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it. One of the biggest reasons people feel emotionally drained today is not because of what happens to them, but because of what keeps happening inside their minds without their awareness. Every unanswered message, every comparison on social media, every awkward conversation replayed before sleep, every moment of wondering whether you're good enough or doing enough creates a small amount of psychological pressure. Alone, these moments seem insignificant, but together, they form an invisible weight that follows you everywhere. The problem is that most people don't recognize this process while it's happening. They assume they're tired, unmotivated, or losing confidence. In reality, their mental energy is being consumed by things they never consciously chose to carry. And what makes this even more dangerous is that the behaviors causing the exhaustion often feel completely normal. That's why so many people stay stuck in the same cycle for years without understanding what's really draining them beneath the surface. What most people don't realize is that the human mind is constantly trying to protect itself from emotional discomfort. And it often does this in ways that seem helpful at first but become harmful over time. When something feels uncertain, a delayed reply, a strange look from someone, a conversation that didn't go as expected, your brain immediately starts searching for answers. It wants closure. It wants certainty. It wants to predict what could happen next. The problem is that when clear answers aren't available, the mind begins creating its own. This is where an invisible psychological pattern starts taking control. Instead of responding to reality, many people begin reacting to assumptions. They replay conversations, analyze facial expressions, revisit old memories, and mentally rehearse situations that may never happen. At first, this feels productive, almost like problem solving. But underneath, something else is happening. The brain is teaching itself that uncertainty is a threat that must always be managed. Over time, this changes behavior in subtle ways. People become more hesitant before speaking. They second-guess decisions. They worry more about how they are perceived. They start adjusting their actions based on imagined reactions rather than real experiences. In social situations, this can quietly shape relationships, confidence, and even personality. The strange part is that most people never notice the moment this pattern begins. They only notice the effects later when they feel stuck, emotionally exhausted, or disconnected from the version of themselves they used to be. And there is one particular area of life where this hidden mechanism becomes even more powerful, influencing choices people make every single day without realizing it. And this is where the hidden cost begins to show up in everyday life. Most people think their behavior is driven by conscious choices, but much of it is shaped by emotional patterns running in the background. When the mind becomes overly focused on uncertainty, approval, or avoiding mistakes, it starts changing the way a person shows up around others. They may speak less freely, hesitate before expressing opinions, or constantly monitor how they are being perceived. Not because they lack intelligence or personality, but because part of their mental energy is being spent managing invisible fears. Over time, this creates a powerful social effect. People who are constantly evaluating themselves often appear less present, less relaxed, and less confident, even when they have valuable things to say. Meanwhile, those who seem naturally confident are often not thinking about themselves nearly as much. They are focused on the moment, the conversation, and the people around them. This difference is subtle, but others can feel it immediately. Relationships are affected by it. Opportunities are affected by it. Even first impressions are shaped by it. What makes this pattern so difficult to recognize is that it rarely feels dramatic. It happens slowly through hundreds of small interactions. A comment left unsaid, an idea kept private, a decision delayed. And little by little, the version of yourself that could have emerged becomes buried under habits designed to avoid discomfort. The surprising part is that the behavior causing this isn't always what people assume. It often comes from a source that looks completely harmless on the surface. Your brain is not responding only to what is happening right now. In many situations, it is also responding to what happened years ago. That is one of the most overlooked aspects of human behavior. A person may believe they are reacting to a message, a disagreement, a rejection, or a social interaction in the present moment, when in reality their emotional response is being amplified by old experiences that left a lasting mark. The mind is constantly looking for patterns. When it recognizes something that feels familiar, even vaguely familiar, it often activates the same emotional defenses that were used before. This is why some people become unusually affected by criticism, distance themselves when relationships become close, or feel anxious in situations that seem harmless to others. The reaction is not only about the event itself. It is connected to emotional memories that were never fully processed or understood. Over time, these memories quietly influence expectations, decisions, and behaviors. A person may begin avoiding certain situations without knowing why. They may repeatedly choose the same types of relationships, face the same frustrations, or find themselves trapped in familiar emotional cycles. What feels like coincidence is often a pattern the brain has been repeating for years. And the most surprising part is that many of these patterns survive because they disguise themselves as logic, convincing people they are simply being careful, realistic, or protecting themselves when something very different is actually happening beneath the surface. The moment you begin noticing these patterns instead of immediately reacting to them, something important starts to change. Not overnight and not in a dramatic way, but in the way you experience yourself. Most people spend years believing they are their reactions. They assume that if they feel insecure, overwhelmed, rejected, or anxious, then those feelings must accurately reflect reality. But emotional responses are not always reliable narrators of what is actually happening. Many of them are old patterns trying to predict outcomes before they occur. The shift begins when you create a small space between the experience and your interpretation of it. Instead of asking, "Why do I always feel this way?" you start asking, "What is this reaction trying to protect me from?" That simple change in perspective can reveal things that were hidden for years. You begin to see that some worries are not warnings. Some doubts are not facts. Some emotional habits are simply familiar paths your mind has traveled so many times that they now feel automatic. As awareness grows, behavior starts adjusting on its own. You become less controlled by assumptions and more connected to what is actually happening in front of you. Conversations feel different. Decisions feel clearer. Relationships become easier to understand. Not because life suddenly changes, but because you are no longer seeing everything through the same unconscious filters. And once you recognize how much of your daily experience is shaped by patterns rather than reality, it becomes impossible to look at your thoughts, emotions, and behavior in quite the same way again. Maybe the most surprising part of human behavior is that the biggest forces shaping our lives are often the ones we never see. Not the events themselves, but the meanings we quietly attach to them. Not the conversations we remember, but the emotions that stay long after the words disappear. Day after day, people move through life believing they are responding to the world around them, while much of the time they are responding to invisible patterns, old expectations, and emotional echoes they never consciously chose. And perhaps that is why two people can experience the same situation and walk away with completely different realities. One sees rejection, another sees freedom. One sees failure, another sees information. The event is the same, but the inner experience is not. What makes this fascinating is that most of these processes happen silently. There is no alarm, no obvious sign, no moment where the mind announces that it is repeating something familiar. It simply continues the pattern until it feels like part of who we are. But every once in a while, a person notices something, a reaction that seems larger than the moment, a fear that appears before any real threat exists, a behavior that keeps showing up in different chapters of life. And for a brief moment, the pattern becomes visible, not solved, not erased, just visible. And sometimes, seeing something clearly for the first time changes the way you experience it forever. Because the question was never only about what you think. It may have always been about what has been thinking through you all along. Before you go, if this video made you see your own thoughts, emotions, or behavior from a different perspective, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps more people discover these conversations about psychology, human behavior, emotional patterns, and personal growth. I'd also love to hear from you. If you watched all the way to the end, leave the comment, "I noticed the pattern." It will let me know you stayed until the final moment and reflected on what we explored today. And don't stop here. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now and continue with the next step of understanding how the mind influences everyday life. Then explore the full playlist for more psychology-based content designed to help you better understand yourself, your relationships, and the hidden behaviors that shape your reality. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.